My 6-year-old daughter and I were eating dinner in a family shelter when a black SUV pulled into the parking lot. An elderly woman stepped out, looked through the glass doors and froze. Then, she walked straight toward us, and said something that made my blood run cold. "Ethan, why aren't you living in your house on Alder Creek Road?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't move. "What house?" 3 days later, I walked into my parents' 40th anniversary party with a legal binder in my hand, and my mother's face went completely white. "My name is Ethan Brooks. I'm 31, I work night shifts at a logistics warehouse, and I'm raising my daughter on my own. And this is the story of how my own parents stole a house from me, collected over $100,000 in my name, while my little girl slept on a metal bunk in a shelter." The notice came on a Thursday. I remember because Thursdays were the only mornings I didn't work a double shift, which meant I got to walk Maya to school instead of dropping her off half asleep in the car. She was at the kitchen table of our small duplex on East G Street, coloring a picture of a house with a red door. When I opened the envelope, final notice, 30 days to vacate. The property had been sold. New owners, full renovation. All tenants out by the end of the month. I read it twice, then a third time. Slower. Like the words might rearrange themselves into something less final. They didn't. I folded the paper, set it down, and sat across from Maya. "What are you drawing?" I asked. Our house," she said, not looking up. That night, after she went to bed, I sat at the kitchen counter with a pen and a scrap of cardboard from a cereal box and did the math. First month, last month, deposit, $2, $600, minimum. I had $940 in my account. Child support from her mom had stopped 6 months ago. No warning, no explanation, just gone. I picked up my phone and stared at my mom's name for a long time before calling. She answered on the third ring. "Ethan, hey. Mom, I need help. Just temporary, 30 days, maybe less. Maya and I can take the couch, the floor, whatever works." There was a pause. Not a confused pause, not a thinking pause. The kind of pause that already knows the answer. "Sweetheart, Ryan and Claire are staying with us right now. You know how tight things are." Ryan, my older brother, 35, 2 incomes, no reason to be there except convenience. "Okay," I said. My voice sounded normal, even to me. "Can Maya stay with you? At least, just until I figure something out." That wouldn't be fair to Ryan's kids. "Of course not," I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "Got it." I hung up before my voice could change. 3 days later, I packed everything we owned into 2 suitcases and a duffel bag, lifted Maya into the car, and drove to the Rainier Family Shelter on South Yakima Avenue. The intake worker handed me a clipboard and a key card. The hallway smelled like bleach and something reheated too many times. Maya looked up at me, holding her stuffed rabbit. "Is this like a hotel, Dad?" I forced a small smile. "Just for a little while." I said it like I believed it. Back then, I still did. The first night, Maya took the top bunk. She said it felt like a treehouse. I let her have that. The frame was metal, the mattress wrapped in plastic that crinkled every time you shifted your weight. I lay on the bottom bunk staring up at the slats above me, listening to her move, settle, move again. "Dad." "Yeah, baby." The light's making a noise. She meant the fluorescent tube in the hallway. It hummed nonstop, a thin, electric sound that slipped under the door and into your head like it belonged there. "I know," I said. "Just close your eyes." I made up a story. Something about a fox that lived in the woods behind a house with a big yard. I don't remember the details. I just remember talking until her breathing slowed. And the moment it did, the room got very quiet, except for the hum, and somewhere down the hall, a man coughing, hard, over and over. I didn't sleep. I lay there and stared into the dark, and thought the one thing I couldn't say out loud. She's going to remember this. Not the story, not the fox. This, the bunk, the smell, the noise. Someday, Maya would be old enough to understand what a shelter was, and she'd know her dad couldn't give her a home. That thought didn't sit in my chest. It pressed, like something heavy enough to crack bone if you didn't move. The next morning started at 5:10 a.m. Phone alarm. Volume low. I grabbed my clothes, slipped out before Maya woke up, and headed to the communal bathroom at the end of the hall. Cold tile, flickering light, no locks on the stalls. I wore flip-flops I bought from a gas station because the floor had a film on it I didn't want to think about. Shaved with a cheap razor. Splashed water on my face. Looked at myself in the mirror. Same guy, just smaller somehow. By 6:00 I was back in the room. Got Maya dressed, brushed her hair, packed the same lunch I'd been packing for months, peanut butter sandwich, apple slices, juice box. Routine. Routine was survival. Dropped her at before school care by 7:15. Drove straight to the warehouse. 8 hours of loading schedules, scanning shipments, yelling over forklift noise, pretending my life wasn't collapsing in the background. Picked her up at 4:00. Back at the shelter by 5. Every day. Same loop. Every evening, Maya drew. There was a plastic bin of broken crayons in the common room. Most of them were dull, worn down, missing paper wrappers. She used all of them. Flowers, dogs, trees. But mostly houses, big windows, front steps, a path leading to the door. Smoke coming out of a chimney we'd never had. Sometimes she added the swing in the yard. I'd sit across from her, nodding like it didn't hit me every time. But it did, right behind the ribs, like something cracking just a little more each night. One night, after she fell asleep, I pulled out my notebook and did the math again. Deposit $2, 600 savings, $940. Gap $1, 660. I texted Ryan, "Can you help me with the deposit? I'll pay you back in a few months." He replied the next morning, "Sorry, man. Things are tight right now. Mom said you should look into housing programs." I stared at the message. Then, without thinking, I opened Instagram. His latest post popped up. A black Yukon Denali. Shiny, new. Caption, "Hard work pays off." I took a screenshot. Didn't know why. Just knew I needed to keep it. That night, I lay on the bunk again, staring at the ceiling. Maya shifted above me in her sleep. The light hummed, and for the first time since we got there, I stopped telling myself this was temporary. My mother showed up 3 weeks after we moved into the shelter. She didn't call first. She didn't ask if it was a good time. She just walked in like she belonged there, a paper shopping bag in one hand, smile already in place. "I'm here to see my granddaughter," she told the front desk, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. The woman at the desk checked the visitor log, nodded, and pointed her toward the common room. I saw her before she saw me. Maya was sitting at the table, drawing again another house, this one with a bigger yard. "Hey," I said quietly. She looked up. "Grandma." My mother lit up like someone flipped a switch. "There's my girl." She crossed the room fast, arms wide, voice bright, warm. "Perfect. Too perfect." Maya hugged her. I watched it happen. Watched the way my mother bent down, kissed her head, ran her fingers through her hair like she hadn't turned us away without a second thought 3 weeks earlier. The intake worker smiled from the doorway. Of course she did. That was the version of my mother people saw. She handed Maya the bag. "I brought you some clothes, sweetheart. Hand-me-downs." I could tell before Maya even pulled them out. Faded shirts, jeans with worn knees, stuff that had already gone through Ryan's kids. Maya didn't care. She smiled anyway. "Thank you." My mother turned to me. "Can we talk?" Same tone she used my whole life when she was about to remind me where I stood. We sat across from each other at one of the plastic tables. Her smile dropped the second no one was watching. "Ethan," she said, lowering her voice, "I've been thinking. I didn't like that already. If this situation continues, this instability, I may need to speak to the court." I felt something go cold inside my chest. "What are you talking about?" "Maya needs consistency. A real home. Structure." She adjusted her sleeve like this was a normal conversation. "And right now, you're in a shelter." There it was. Not concern. Positioning. "You're talking about the guardianship," I said. "Standby guardianship," she corrected smoothly. "Same difference when a child's well-being is involved." It wasn't the same thing, but she said it like it was. Like she could make it real just by sounding certain. "I'm not threatening you," she added, which meant she absolutely was. "I'm just saying, if this goes on too long, I have to do what's best for Maya." My hands were flat on the table. Still, if I moved them, I wasn't sure I'd stop. "I'm working," I said. "I'm doing everything I can. A real man doesn't let his daughter end up here." The sentence landed clean. No hesitation, no apology. Just delivered. Like fact. I held her gaze, didn't blink, didn't raise my voice. "I didn't ask for this." "No," she said. "But you're responsible for fixing it." She stood up before I could respond, walked back over to Maya, voice bright again. "Be good for your dad, okay? Grandma loves you so much." She kissed Maya's forehead, signed the visitor log on her way out. Date, time, name, like it mattered. That night, after Maya fell asleep, I sat on the edge of the bunk with a notebook in my hands. I wrote it all down. Date, time, what she said, every word I could remember, not because I had a plan. 'Cause something in me said, don't forget this. Don't let her rewrite it later. A week after that, I found a studio apartment. Small, barely 500 square feet, but it had a door that locked and a bathroom that was ours. The landlord said he'd hold it for 72 hours. Deposit $2,600. That number again. The difference between this and getting my daughter out. I called my mom one last time. I found a place, I said. I just need help with the deposit. I'll pay you back, I swear. She didn't even pretend this time. We don't have it. 2 weeks earlier, she'd sent a photo to the family group chat by accident. My dad, standing in the driveway, holding keys to a brand new F-150. I saw it before she deleted it. We don't have it, she repeated. I closed my eyes. Okay, maybe this is a lesson, she added. About responsibility. I hung up. Didn't argue. Didn't beg. That night, Maya tugged on my sleeve. Dad, when are we going home? I looked at her. At the bunk. At the crayon house sitting on the table. Soon, I said. But the word didn't mean anything anymore. Because, at that point, I thought this was the bottom. I thought this was as bad as it could get. I was wrong. 3 days later, a black SUV pulled into the shelter parking lot. It was a Saturday afternoon. Maya and I were sitting in the common room, sharing a microwave dinner that tasted like salt and nothing else. She was drawing again, same thing as always. A house. I was pretending to check emails on my phone. But really, I was staring at my bank balance, doing math I already knew didn't work. That's when I heard the car door outside. Not unusual. Except this one sounded different. Heavier. I glanced toward the window. Black SUV. Clean. Polished. Out of place in a shelter parking lot. The driver's door opened slowly. An older woman stepped out. White hair. Wool coat. The kind of posture that doesn't ask permission to exist anywhere. She walked to the entrance, stopped, and looked through the glass. Her eyes moved across the room and landed on me. She froze. So did I. I hadn't seen her in almost 2 years. Grandma, I said under my breath. Ruth Caldwell walked in like she already knew where she was going. Straight across the room, past the bulletin board, past the tables, past everything. She stopped in front of me, looked at Maya, looked at the bunk beds through the open door behind us, then back at me. Ethan, her voice cracked slightly. What are you doing here? I stood up slowly. Grandma, what are you doing here? She didn't answer. She reached for my hands. They were shaking. Why aren't you living in your house on Alder Creek Road? The room tilted, not metaphorically, actually tilted, like something inside my head had shifted just enough to throw everything off balance. What house? I said. Quiet, flat, real. She stared at me, long enough that I knew this wasn't confusion. This was something worse. Maya looked up from her drawing. Hi, she said softly, like nothing had just cracked open. Ruth swallowed, then reached into her bag, pulled out her phone, tapped once, twice, turned the screen toward me. A document, black text, white background, legal language. I saw my name first, Ethan James Brooks, then irrevocable trust, then beneficiary, and an address, 2716 Alder Creek Road, dated 2 years ago. My fingers tightened around the edge of the phone. I don't understand, I said. My voice sounded far away. Ruth's jaw set. Neither do I, she said, but we're going to. Priya Nina, our case manager, must have seen something on my face. She walked over, took one look at us, and said quietly, let's use the office. No questions, just instinct. She closed the door behind us. Ruth sat across from me, hands folded now, steady. Different woman than the one who walked in. When your grandfather passed, she said, I sold most of the properties, kept a few. I nodded slowly, didn't trust myself to speak. One of them was that house. Alder Creek, 3 bedrooms, quiet street. I put it in a trust for you. My throat tightened. For me, for you and Maya, she corrected. So, you'd never have to worry about housing again. I felt something twist hard in my chest. She gave the documents to your mother. She continued. Margaret said she'd handle everything, that she'd make sure you got the keys. I closed my eyes, just for a second. When was this? I asked. 2 years ago. 2 years. 2 years of rent. 2 years of shelters and near evictions and math on scrap paper. 2 years of my daughter drawing houses she thought we couldn't have. She told me you moved in last spring, Ruth said. My eyes snapped open. What? She sent me photos. The kitchen. Curtains. Said Maya had a room with a view of the yard. My stomach dropped. I've never been there, I said, every word deliberate. I didn't even know it existed until right now. Silence. Heavy. Sharp. Ruth leaned back slowly. Something changed in her face. Not confusion anymore. Not sadness. Recognition. The kind that comes right before anger. And what? She said carefully. Did your mother tell you about me? I hesitated, then answered. That you moved, that you didn't want contact, that you needed space. Ruth let out a slow breath. I changed my number when I moved, she said. I gave it to your mother. She paused. Only your mother. My hands curled into fists under the table. She told me you were in Arizona, I said. Assisted living. Ruth almost smiled. But there was nothing warm in it. I live 12 miles from here. Ethan. She reached for her phone again, pulled up a text thread. Messages. From my mother. Ethan loves the house. Mom. Thank you so much. Maya has her own room now. She's so happy. We painted the kitchen. I'll send pictures. Then, a photo. Bright kitchen. Blue curtains. Fruit on the counter. I stared at it. Didn't recognize a single thing. That's not my house, I said. Ruth nodded once. I know. She lowered the phone slowly, then looked me dead in the eyes. So, the question is, her voice was calm, precise, dangerous. Who has been living in your house for the last 2 years? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Because, in that moment, everything clicked. The money, the refusal, Ryan's car, my father's truck, the lies, all of it, built on something that was supposed to be mine. That night, I called my mother. I didn't call her from inside the shelter. I walked out to the parking lot. Cold air, wet pavement, the kind of quiet that makes everything feel sharper than it is. Maya was inside with Nina, sitting at the table, coloring like nothing had changed. I stood under a flickering streetlight, pulled out my phone, and turned on the voice recorder before I dialed. I didn't overthink it. I just knew this mattered now. She picked up on the 4th ring. Ethan, it's late. Grandma came to the shelter today. Silence. Not normal silence. Heavy silence. The kind that has weight. That's not possible, she said finally. She's in Arizona. She's not. She was sitting across from me 30 minutes ago with a trust deed for a house on Alder Creek Road. I could hear her breathing change. Faster. But when she spoke again, her voice was smooth, controlled. I don't know what you think you saw, she said. But your grandmother is confused. She's been having memory issues. I stared out at the empty parking lot, rain tapping softly against the hood of my car. She showed me the paperwork. I said. My name. My address. 2 years ago. You're under a lot of stress right now, Ethan, she replied. You're not thinking clearly. There it was. Not denial. Not panic. Reframing. Turning the problem into me. Who's living in that house? I asked. A beat. Then, I think you need to calm down. Answer the question, Ethan. Listen to me. No, I said. Quieter now. You listen to me. Who's been collecting rent on that house? She didn't answer. And that told me everything. I'm going to call Grandma back, I said. We're going to figure this out. Don't, she snapped. First crack. Small, but real. You don't need to drag her into this. She's fragile. She didn't look fragile to me. You don't understand what you're doing. Her voice dropped. Lower. Colder. You know how courts look at situations like yours. There it was. Loaded. Aimed. You're living in a shelter, Ethan. You're working nights. Maya needs stability. If you start making accusations, false accusations, you could make things a lot worse for yourself. I closed my eyes. Let the silence stretch. Let her keep talking. Because now, I was listening differently. This wasn't a mother trying to explain something. This was someone managing a narrative. Fast. Practiced. Efficient. No hesitation. No confusion. Just control. I'm not making anything up, I said. Then, you're misunderstanding it. Am I? I asked. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like someone's been using my name for something I never signed. You need to stop, she said sharply. Or what? Another pause. Then, I'm trying to protect you. That one almost made me laugh. Almost. I looked down at my phone. The red recording timer was still running. Every word, every shift in her tone, every lie, saved. You know what I think I said? What? I think you're not confused. Silence. I think you're not worried. Longer silence. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. Her breathing hitched, just slightly. And for the first time since the call started, she didn't have a response ready. Good night, Mom, I said. Ethan, don't do anything, Stu. I hung up. I stood there for a long time, phone in my hand, rain soaking through my jacket, heart steady, not racing, not panicking, just clear. Because for the first time, this wasn't about me failing. It wasn't about me not working hard enough, not being responsible enough, not being enough. This wasn't random. This wasn't bad luck. This was deliberate. And once I saw that, really saw it, everything else started lining up. Childhood, Ryan, the way things always tilted, The way no only seemed to show up when I asked for something. I wasn't the problem. I'd just been the one it was easiest to take from. I went back inside, checked on Maya. She was asleep on the couch, her drawing still in her lap. A house, big window, tree, swing. I picked it up carefully, held it for a second longer than I needed to, then set it down. That night, I opened my notebook again, but this time, I didn't just write what happened. I wrote one sentence. She's not confused. She's not sorry. She's scared. And for the first time since we walked into that shelter, I wasn't the one who was afraid. The next morning, I drove to Ruth's house. Tacoma rain, gray sky, wipers moving back and forth like a metronome counting something down. I didn't turn on the radio. Didn't need noise. My head was already loud enough. Ruth lived in a quiet neighborhood lined with old trees and houses that had been standing longer than most of the people inside them. She opened the door before I knocked. "You look like you didn't sleep," she said. "I didn't." She stepped aside. "Good. You'll need a clear head." There was a man sitting at her dining table, mid-60s, clean suit, reading glasses, a leather folder in front of him. "Ethan," Ruth said. "This is Martin Graves. He handled your grandfather's properties for over 20 years. Martin stood, shook my hand once. Firm, efficient, no wasted motion. "Sit," he said. I did. He opened the folder. "I ran a search through Pierce County records this morning," he said. "No buildup, no soft landing. Your property at 2716 Alder Creek Road is currently occupied." My jaw tightened. Tenant's been there just under 2 years. 2 years, right on the line. He slid a document across the table, a lease agreement. I looked down. Tenant name, monthly rent, signature at the bottom. E. Brooks. Close enough to mine that someone glancing wouldn't question it. Wrong enough that I knew immediately. It wasn't mine. "She signed it," I said. Martin nodded once. "As your authorized agent." I let out a slow breath through my nose. "Keep going." He flipped to the next page. Spreadsheet, columns, dates, transfers. "Monthly rent $2,450, he said. "Collected consistently. No missed payments." He tapped the bottom line. 24 months. I didn't need him to say it. $58,800. "Correct. Where did it go?" "Joint account," he said. "Margaret and Harold Brooks." Of course. Ruth didn't move, didn't react. But her eyes, hard, cold, watching every word land. Martin flipped again. "There's more." I looked up. He adjusted his glasses. 14 months ago, a home equity line of credit was opened on the property. My stomach dropped. "In your name." I didn't speak. Couldn't. "Application lists you as a property manager. Primary residence Alder Creek Road." He slid another page forward. "Loan amount $42,000. The number hit harder than I expected. "Withdrawn in full over a 6-month period." I stared at the paper. Numbers, transactions, dates, all real, all traceable, all mine. Except they weren't. "Where did that go?" I asked quietly. Martin turned the page. Highlighted entries. $15,000 home renovation contractor. My mother's kitchen. The one she posted about last summer. Finally got my dream kitchen. $9,000 credit card payoff. $6,000 Ford dealership. My dad's truck. $12,000 transfer to Ryan Brooks. Same month as the Yukon Post. Same caption. "Hard work pays off." I leaned back in the chair. Everything in my body went still. Not shock. Not anger. Something colder. More focused. "That's $100,800, Martin said. "Taken from your property. Without your knowledge, without your consent." He closed the folder. Looked at me. "This is fraud, forgery, identity theft." No drama in his voice. Just fact. "We can take this to the police. File civil action, recover everything." Ruth finally spoke. Quiet. "Controlled. My own daughter," she said. "Taking from her grandson. And his child." She looked at me. "What do you want to do?" That question sat there. Heavy. Simple. Dangerous. I thought about the shelter. The bunk. The humming light. Maya asking me when we were going home. I thought about every time I said soon and didn't know what it meant. I thought about her drawings, the houses, the swing, the life she thought she couldn't have. Then I looked at the papers again, the signatures, the numbers, the lies. "I want my house," I said. My voice didn't shake. "I want every dollar back." I paused, then added, "And I want everyone to know exactly what they did." Martin nodded, like he'd been expecting that answer. "Then we build a case," he said. And for the first time since this started, I wasn't reacting anymore. I was preparing. I went back to the shelter that night and pulled my bag out from under the bunk. Same bag I'd been living out of for weeks. Same place, I kept everything that mattered. But this time, it wasn't just survival. It was evidence. The next morning, I stopped at a dollar store on my way back from dropping Maya off at school. Bought a black 3-ring binder, tab dividers, a pack of clear sleeves. Cheap, basic, enough. That night, after Maya fell asleep, I sat on the bottom bunk and started building it, section by section. Like I was organizing a shipment. Tab 1 trust, certified copy, my name, the date, the property, proof it was mine. Tab 2 property records, county filings, ownership history, the HELOC entry. Tab 3 lease agreement, the forged signature, E. Brooks, close but wrong. I flipped the page, kept going. Tab 4 financial records, $58,800 in rent, every payment tracked, every deposit into their account. Tab 5 HELOC, $42,000, application, withdrawals, where every dollar went. Kitchen, truck, Ryan. My jaw tightened when I wrote his name. I didn't cross it out. I wanted it there. Tab 6 screenshots, my mom's texts, stop being dramatic, be more responsible. Ryan's message, we're tight right now. His Yukon, hard work pays off. Tab 7 audio, the phone call, her voice, calm, controlled, lying. Saved on a USB drive Nina gave me. Tab 8 shelter records, my handwritten notes, dates, times, what she said. And Nina's affidavit signed, notarized, confirming Maya and I had been living there. That I showed up. That I took care of my kid. Every day. I closed the binder slowly, held it in my hands. It had weight now. Not just paper, not just proof. Control. At the warehouse. If something went missing, I could trace it. Doc number. Time stamp, truck ID, nothing just disappeared. Now I was doing the same thing, only this time, it wasn't inventory. It was my daughter's home. Martin picked me up Wednesday morning. Gray sky again. Same rain, different feeling. I wasn't guessing anymore. I was going to see it. Alder Creek Road was quiet. The kind of street where people left porch lights on during the day, and kids' bikes sat on front lawns without chains. It didn't feel like a place you lost things. It felt like a place you kept them. 2716, Martin said, slowing the car. White fence, small yard, blue shutters. Exactly the kind of house Maya had been drawing for 2 months. I didn't get out right away. I just sat there, hands on my knees, looking at it. 2 years. 2 years this place existed. And I didn't even know. Martin knocked. A young couple answered, late 20s, coffee mugs in hand, confused, but polite. He introduced himself. I'm representing the legal owner of this property. They let us talk on the porch. They'd been renting for almost 2 years. $2,450 a month. Paid on time. To my mother. She said it was her investment property, the guy said. Everything seemed legit. Of course it did. She was good at that. They showed Martin the lease. Same document I'd seen. Same fake signature. He took photos. Documented everything. Professional. Precise. I stayed off to the side. Didn't go in. Couldn't. Not yet. But I looked through the front window. Living room. Clean. Furniture that wasn't mine. Life that wasn't mine. Then I saw it. A small room off to the left. Empty. Except for built-in shelves under the window. Perfect size for a twin bed. A desk. Colored pencils. Maya's room. Or the room that should have been. I shifted my weight. Looked away before it hit too hard. Backyard's nice, the woman said casually. There's a swing back there. Came with the place. Of course there was. We walked back to the car. I didn't say anything until the door closed. They didn't know, I said. They're tenants, Martin replied. They paid in good faith. They're victims, too. I nodded. Didn't argue. They'll get notice? He continued. 60 days. We do this properly. Properly, I repeated. I needed that word. Back at Ruth's house. Martin laid everything out. Legal pad. Numbered steps. Clear. Controlled. Step 1, he said. Notice to vacate. 60 days. They cooperate. We avoid unnecessary conflict. Step 2. Trust amendment. Remove your mother's access entirely. I'll step in as acting trustee temporarily. Ruth nodded once. Step 3. File fraud complaint. Forgery. Identity theft. The words sounded heavier now. More real. Step 4. Civil suit for restitution. $100, $800. Every dollar. He looked up. Questions. I shook my head. I understood all of it, but that wasn't enough. There's one more thing, I said. Ruth looked at me. So did Martin. Next Saturday, I continued, is my parents' anniversary. 40 years. Everyone will be there. Family, friends, people who've been hearing my mother's version of me for years. Unstable, irresponsible, not good enough. I don't just want my house back, I said. My voice stayed level. I want the truth where she built the lie. Martin leaned back slightly, thinking, calculating. I can prepare a formal demand letter, he said. Documented. Certified. You deliver it in person. To her, I said. He nodded. Ruth's hand rested lightly on the table. I'll be there, she said. Simple, certain. That was the moment it locked in. Not just the case. The ending. Because this wasn't just about getting back what was mine. It was about making sure she never controlled the story again. Before I walked into that house next Saturday, I had to make sure she couldn't use the one thing she'd been holding over me. Maya. Martin filed the motion Monday morning. Emergency basis. Conflict of interest. Clean. Surgical. No warning. The argument was simple. I had stable employment. I had a confirmed residence incoming Alder Creek Road. Documented in the trust. I had support Ruth. And the current standby guardian, my mother, was under active investigation for fraud tied directly to that property. Nina's affidavit went in with the filing. Clear. Professional. She stated that Maya and I had been at the shelter since January. That I showed up every day. That Maya was safe, fed, cared for. That I was doing everything a father was supposed to do, with nothing. I added my pay stubs, work schedule, every piece of paper that said I didn't quit. I didn't run. I stayed. The hearing was Thursday. There wasn't even a courtroom. The judge reviewed it in chambers. No arguments. No back and forth. No chance for my mother to spin it. I was on my lunch break at work when the email came through. I opened it standing in the break room. Forklifts humming in the background. Coffee machine dripping. People talking about nothing. Order granted. I read it once. Then again. Then slower. Standby guardianship terminated. Effective immediately. Full legal and physical custody restored to Ethan Brooks. I didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there with my phone in my hand. For over a year, that document had been a leash around my neck. Every time I thought about pushing back, I heard her voice. You know how courts look at situations like yours. Not anymore. I leaned forward, put both hands on the table, head down, and for the first time since this started, I let it out. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet, controlled. Like everything else. Then I wiped my face, stood up, went back to work, because that's what I do. That night, Martin sent me the letter. 4 pages, formal, precise, every charge laid out. Fraud, forgery, identity theft, full restitution demanded, legal action pending, printed on heavy paper, sealed, stamped, certified. I held it in my hands for a long time. It didn't look like much, but it was heavier than anything I'd carried in months. Ruth came by the shelter Friday evening, signed in at the front desk, just like my mother had. Except, this time, it wasn't a performance. Maya stayed close to me at first, half hidden behind my leg, watching, trying to decide if this was safe. Ruth didn't rush her, didn't reach, didn't force it. She just sat down at the table and opened a small wooden box. Inside, colored pencils, real ones, sharp, bright, unbroken. I heard you like to draw, she said. Maya stepped closer. Slowly, carefully, like it might disappear if she moved too fast. Can I use them? She asked. They're yours. That was it. That was all it took. Maya sat down, picked a green pencil, then a blue, then started drawing. A house, of course. Big window, tree, path to the door, and this time, a swing in the back. Ruth watched quietly, didn't interrupt, didn't cry, but I saw it in her eyes. She already has a house, Ruth said softly. Maya looked up at me. I nodded. Yeah, I said. She does. Later. When Maya went back to coloring, Ruth leaned closer. I lost 2 years, she said, her voice low, tight. I won't lose another day. I believed her. Saturday morning came fast. Too fast. I'd been awake since 4, sitting on the edge of the bunk, binder open in front of me, going through everything. Again. Tab by tab. Trust. Records. Lease. HELOC. Screenshots. Audio. Court order. Everything in place. Everything documented. Everything ready. Because if there was one thing I'd learned from all this, it was simple. If it's not written down, it didn't happen. Nina stopped by before her shift. She was off the clock. Still came. You ready? She asked. No, I said honestly. She smiled slightly. Good. That means you understand what this is. I got dressed in the shelter bathroom. Same mirror. Same flickering light. Different man. White shirt, dark jacket. Cleaned my boots as best I could. No tie. Didn't need one. I looked at myself for a long second, then nodded once. When I got back to the room, Maya was awake, sitting on the top bunk, drawing. "Where are you going?" she asked. "To see family. Can I come?" "Not this time." Nina was taking her to Ruth's house. Sleepover. Safe. Away from what was about to happen. "Bring your pencils," I told her. She smiled. "Okay." I picked up my bag. The binder shifted inside. Heavy. Ready. Right before I left, my phone buzzed. A message from my cousin. "Rachel, hey. Just a heads up. Your mom's been telling everyone you're struggling. That she's been helping you for months and you keep pushing her away. People believe her." I read it once. Then locked my phone. Of course she had. That was her move. Control the story before anyone else could. Not this time. I walked out of the shelter. Rain hitting the pavement. Same as every other day. But this time, I wasn't going to work. I was going to end it. My parents' house was lit up before I even pulled into the driveway. Every window glowing. Cars lined along the curb. Voices spilling out through the open front door. 40 years of marriage on display. I sat in the car for a moment. Hands on the wheel. Breathing slow. Feeling the weight of the binder on the passenger seat. Everything I needed. In one place. Then I picked it up. Got out. And walked in. The smell hit first. Garlic. Baked pasta. Something sweet, probably cake. Voices layered over each other. Laughter. Then they saw me. It wasn't loud. It was subtle. A shift. Like a room adjusting its posture. Conversations slowed. Heads turned. Eyes lingered just a little too long. Pity. Discomfort. Judgment. They already knew the version of me she'd told them. I stepped inside fully. Closed the door behind me. Ryan stood near the kitchen island. Beer in hand. Didn't meet my eyes. Claire looked down at her phone. Too fast. Then my mother came out of the kitchen. Cream blouse. Perfect hair. Smile already in place. For half a second, it slipped. Just long enough. Then it snapped back. "Ethan," she said warmly, walking toward me. "I'm so glad you came." She wrapped her arms around me. I didn't move. Didn't hug her back. She leaned in close. Her voice dropped. "Don't do this tonight." I looked her in the eye. "I'm not." She pulled back, smoothed her blouse, turned to the room. "Everyone, Ethan made it." Like I was the problem that finally showed up. Then the doorbell rang. My father went to get it, opened the door, and froze. Because standing there was Ruth. No warning, no announcement, just presence. "Evening," she said calmly. The room shifted again, but this time, it wasn't pity. It was confusion. Respect. Attention. Ruth walked in slowly. Everyone made space. They always did. She greeted people, briefly, politely, then stopped in the center of the room, looked around, then said, casual as anything, "Has anyone here visited Ethan's house on Alder Creek Road?" Silence. Real silence. The kind that doesn't know where to go. My mother moved fast. "Mom, this isn't the time." Ruth didn't look at her. "I bought it for him 2 years ago," she continued. "For him and Maya." Now people were looking. At her, at me, at my mother, waiting. Ruth turned her head, looked straight at me. "Ethan, how is it?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to, because the silence was louder than anything I could say. My mother stepped forward. "Ethan's been under a lot of stress. He's confused." That's when I moved. One step forward. "Everyone here deserves the truth," I said. My voice didn't shake. "I have never been inside that house." The words landed. Flat. Heavy. I didn't know it existed until last week. A ripple moved through the room. "Ethan, stop," my mother said sharply. I didn't look at her. "I found out because my grandmother walked into the Rainier family shelter," I continued, "where my daughter and I have been living for the past 2 months. That did it." Gasps. Actual gasps. "A shelter," someone said. "Yes," I said. "Bunk beds, shared bathrooms, fluorescent lights that never turn off." I let that sit. Then I opened the binder, slowly, deliberately. "While we were there," I said, "that house, my house, was being rented out." My father stepped forward. "That's enough." I looked at him. "Sit down." Not loud, but it worked. He stopped. I pulled out the first document, held it up. Trust deed. My name. Property transferred 2 years ago. Next. Lease agreement, signed in my name. I tapped the signature. That's not my signature. Next. Rent payments. $2,450 a month. 24 months. I looked up. $58,800. No one spoke. Then, HELOC documents. Opened in my name. $42,000. I flipped the page. Kitchen renovation. I looked at my mother. Truck. I looked at my father. Transfer to Ryan. All eyes turned. Ryan froze. Same month as the Yukon, I said. His face went red. Total, I said, closing the binder slightly. $100, 800. Silence. Complete. My mother shook her head. This is a lie. Ruth spoke. I wish it were. That ended it. I reached into my bag, pulled out the envelope. Formal demand letter, I said, prepared by legal counsel. I set it on the table. Then one more document. Court order, I said. I held it up. Standby guardianship terminated. That hit her harder than anything. You can't, she started. I already did. I stepped closer. You used my daughter as leverage. Her voice broke. I'm your mother. I didn't hesitate. And I'm her father. The room felt smaller now, like it was closing in around the truth. You had 2 years, I said. 2 years to hand me a key. My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. Instead, you let your granddaughter sleep in a shelter. No one defended her. No one moved. She looked around, searching for someone to step in. No one did. Ryan shifted, tried to speak. I didn't know. The transfer says you did, I said. He shut up. My father looked like he wanted to say something. Didn't, because there was nothing left. No version, no spin, no story. Just facts. My mother broke first, not quietly. Tears, loud, desperate. You're destroying this family, she said. I shook my head. No, I said. I'm just telling the truth. And that was worse. Because truth doesn't need defending. It just stands there. I closed the binder, picked up my bag, and walked out. No one stopped me. No one followed. Because the story she built was already gone. I didn't go back to the shelter right away. I drove. No destination. Just movement. Rain on the windshield. Wipers cutting through it in steady rhythm. Streetlights blurring past. For the first time in a long time, my head was quiet. My phone buzzed once. Then again. I didn't check it. Not yet. When I finally parked outside Ruth's house, the porch light was on. Warm. Steady. I walked in without knocking. Maya was asleep on the couch, curled up under a blanket. Her colored pencils still scattered across the coffee table. One drawing sitting right in front of her. A house. Ours. Ruth looked up from her chair. She didn't ask what happened. She didn't need to. It's done, I said. She nodded once. That was enough. I carried Maya to the car. Careful. Slow. She shifted slightly, but didn't wake. The drive back to the shelter was the last one. I knew it before I turned the key. The following week, things moved fast. Martin filed the civil suit Monday morning. Fraud, forgery, identity theft, full restitution demanded, every dollar accounted for. Tuesday, the complaint was formally logged with the district attorney. Case number assigned. Charges real now, not just words. Wednesday, the bank froze the HELOC account. Internal investigation opened. My name finally cleared from something I never signed. Thursday, notice to vacate reached the tenants. They cooperated. They understood. They weren't the enemy. They were just caught in it. Friday, Martin called me. They've retained counsel, he said. Used the word untenable. I let out a slow breath. Translation, they knew they were going to lose. 2 weeks after the party, my phone rang. Ryan's number? I almost didn't answer. But I did. Ethan. It wasn't Ryan. It was my mother. Her voice, smaller, stripped. Please, she said. Can we talk? You have 2 minutes, I said. We'll pay you back, she rushed. All of it, I swear. Just drop the charges. I leaned against the wall in the shelter hallway. The same one. Same buzzing light overhead. Same smell. You had 2 years, I said. Silence. 730 days, I continued. Every single day. You could have told me the truth. I was trying to help. No, I said. You were trying to control it. Her breathing broke. I'm your mother. That line again. I closed my eyes. It used to mean everything to me, I said. Silence on the other end. But I'm a father now. I opened my eyes, looked down the hallway, at the place my daughter had been sleeping. And my job is to protect her. Another pause. Longer this time. I won't drop the charges, I said. Her voice cracked. Ethan, you didn't break this family, I said quietly. You just built it on a lie. I hung up, blocked the number, and that was the last time I spoke to her. The settlement came a month later. Martin walked me through it line by line. $58,800 in rent, to be repaid in full over 36 months. Automatic deposits, no missed payments. $42,000 HELOC, to be paid off within 90 days, or the bank would escalate. Ryan, $12,000 returned. Monthly installments, no exceptions. Criminal charges, reduced. Conditional, 3 years probation, any violation, felony reinstated. And the final clause, no contact, no calls, no messages, no third-party contact, no exceptions. I signed, not because it felt good, but because it felt right. The house was empty by the end of the next month. Martin called me. "It's ready," he said. I didn't speak for a second. Then, okay. The key was smaller than I expected. Cold, metal, real. I stood in front of 2716 Alder Creek Road with Maya beside me. She held my hand tight. "Is this it?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. My voice was steady. I unlocked the door. It opened easy. Inside, quiet, hardwood floors, light coming through the front window. A space that had been ours the whole time. Maya stepped in first. Slow, careful, like she was walking into something that might disappear. Then she saw the backyard. "Dad." She ran. I followed. The swing was still there, hanging from the tree, moving slightly in the breeze. She climbed on immediately. Laughed. Real laughter. Not the quiet kind from the shelter. I stood there, watching her, hands in my pockets, breathing. For the first time in months, it didn't hurt. We moved in that week. Not much to move. 2 suitcases, a duffel bag, a box of drawings, but it was enough. Maya's room was the small one on the left, built-in shelves under the window, just like I'd seen. We set up her bed, put the colored pencils on the shelf. I took her drawing from the shelter, the one with the house and the swing, and taped it to the wall, right above her bed. That night, I tucked her in her room, in her house. "Dad," she said softly. "Yeah, we're staying here, right?" I nodded. "We're staying." She smiled, closed her eyes, and fell asleep in less than a minute. I stood there a while, just listening. No buzzing lights, no voices through thin walls, no footsteps in hallways, just silence, the right kind. The kind that means you're safe. 6 months later, the trees outside turned gold. Maya started 2nd grade, 5-minute walk to school. Every Friday, she brought home drawings, more houses. But now, they all looked the same. Ours. Ruth came every weekend, sat at the table with her, colored, laughed, stayed. I switched to day shifts, less money, more time. Worth it. I started seeing a therapist, not because I was broken, because I needed to understand why I stayed quiet for so long. The answer came slow, but it came. I thought being a good son meant keeping the peace, taking the hit, saying nothing. I was wrong. Being a good father means making sure your kid never has to question if they deserve a home. Maya never will, and neither will I. That's where my story ends, and where everything else finally begins.